So this is going to be how to graph a absolute value equation. You're now going to start seeing it one of two ways. The first way is y equals a times the absolute value of x plus b plus c, or you might start seeing the function of x is equal to a times the absolute value of x plus b plus c. So you're going to see it one of two ways. Now, your a value, which is the value right here, is always going to be known for your slope. So it's going to be your rise over your run. And if your a is a positive value, then your graph is going to open up. And absolute value equations are going to be V-graphs. So they're going to have a vertex, which we're going to talk about in a second, and they're going to either face up or down. Now, if the a is negative, then the graph is going to open down. So your V is going to now be facing down if it's a negative value. So that is all if A is positive or negative. It's going to be facing up or down. Now your vertex is going to always be your B and your C. So it's going to be the opposite of your B, comma, whatever your C value is. So your B value is what's going to be changing. So it's the opposite of that value. So say this is a positive 4, then your vertex is going to be negative 4. If this is a negative 4, this is now going to be a positive 4 because it's the opposite of. Now in this case, if we had this example, y equals 1/2 times the absolute value of x plus 0 plus 2, our vertex is going to be 0, comma 2, because it's our B value and our C value. Now 0 can't be negative or positive, so you're just going to leave it as 0. And the slope of this would be our A value, which is 1/2. And because it's positive, it's going to open up. So I always write that next to. Those are the three things I identify: my vertex, what my slope is, and if it faces up or down. So in this case, if we have in our example, we have y equals 2 times the absolute value of x plus 3 plus 1. So what I always do is I identify my three things. So I'm going to first identify my slope. And my a value is the 2, okay? So my 2 is my slope. Because it's a positive 2, it's going to go up 2 into the right 1, or up 2 over 1, or up 2 to the left 1. And I'm going to show you in a second with that. Now, because it's a positive 2, it's going to open up. And then our vertex is always the opposite of our B value, so which is our 3, and our C value. So the opposite of our B value is going to be negative 3, comma, a positive 1. So we always want to, I'm going to write vertex access too. We always want to start with our vertex because that's our starting point. So that's where our graph is going to, that's going to be our lowest point. So it's either our minimum or our maximum point. So in this case, we have, it's going to start at negative 3, 1. So I'm going to go over 1, 2, 3, and up 1. And I'm going to use my slope to make the following points in my graph, so the additional points. So I'm going to go up 2 over 1 to the right, up 2, 1 to the right. Okay, I'm also going to go back to the vertex and go up 2 to the left 1, up 2 to the left 1. And the reason why I do that is I'm just making a constant. So it's going to be a function because it passes that vertical line test, and it's kind of symmetrical. So you're always going to be about the same points away on both sides. So I'm going to make this a graph, and it's a V graph. So you want to make sure it's facing up. Now in this case, this vertex is going to be our minimum point because it's facing up. So this would be our minimum point. So vertex in this case, if it's ever facing up, it's our minimum. If it's ever facing down, it's our maximum point. So this is our minimum point. So that's where our graph starts, and then it changes in both directions. So in this case, I'm going to switch this equation. So we're going to use y is equal to negative absolute value x plus 3, and then no C value. So we're always going to identify our slope. So if it's a negative value on the outside, it's really standing for a -1. So we're going to have a -1 slope. Or you could say -1 over a +1. Now, because it's a negative slope, that means it's going to open down. So that would mean that our vertex is going to be our maximum point because it's the farthest point up. And then our third thing is we're going to find our vertex. So our first point, we have to find the opposite of B, which is going to be, it is a +3, so we're going to make it a -3, comma, and then we have no C value, so we're going to make it -3, 0. And in this case, we're going to have -3, 0. Now from here, we're going to go to the left 1, 2, 3 and go to 0. And then it's going to be going down. So we're going to go down 1 to the right 1, down 1 to the right 1. We're also going to go down 1 into the left 1 and down 1 into the left 1. So this would be our graph. And if you notice, this is our maximum point because it's the highest point on our graph.